Have you ever stopped to think about what makes our human understanding, so rich, so nuanced? It's much more than just knowing facts, isn't it? It's this amazing ability we have to grasp meaning, context, even handle tricky ethical questions. And here's a thought. What if AI could actually aim for that same kind of deep comprehension? Today on the deep dive, we're really plunging into something pretty groundbreaking in AI. It's called the Spatio-Temporal Cognitive Neural Network, or STCNN Level 3. We're going to focus specifically on its phenomenological reasoning. Our source material digs into how this advanced AI model is trying to process information with real understanding, kind of like we do, moving way beyond just crunching data.
That's exactly right. Our mission really is to unpack how this STCNN moves beyond that basic data processing, how it interprets information with something called intentionality, how it understands dynamic context, and maybe most fascinatingly, how it engages in ethical reasoning. It kind of lays out a roadmap, you could say, for building AI that's more robust, adaptable, and really importantly, more explainable. And we'll definitely explore some really compelling parallels between how this AI seems to think and how our own minds work. It's quite fascinating stuff.
Okay, great. So let's get into that core idea, phenomenological reasoning. The sources say it's the STCNN's way of modeling intentionality or maybe meaning-orientedness. So maybe to start us off, what does it actually mean for an AI to have intentionality? How is that different from, say, how a standard large language model works?
Right. Well, intentionality here. It's the AI's ability to actually connect its inputs data, perceptions to specific things, objects, situations out there in the real world. Think of it as the aboutness of its thought process, its capacity to link its mental content, which is the data, to actual referential objects.
Yeah.
So imagine an STCNN processing an image of a red octagon. Intentionality means it doesn't just see red and octagon features. It understands this red octagon is a stop sign in the context of driving.
Ah, okay.
It connects the data to the real thing and its purpose, like needing to stop.
Yeah.
That's way beyond just spotting statistical patterns. It's about meaningful contextual direction, almost goal-directedness.
Okay, that makes sense. And how does it achieve that? You mentioned recursive loops.
Yes, exactly. Through these recursive loops. Picture a sort of continuous feedback system. It's not just processing data once and done. It's constantly reevaluating, refining its understanding based on its own previous outputs and, of course, new incoming data. This creates this constantly shifting intentional focus. As it cycles, its understanding isn't static, it updates. And this leads to, as the source puts it, new emergent intentional acts as a consequence of new situations in time.
Wow. Okay. So it's not just holding data, it's constantly sharpening its focus with new stuff coming in. That's quite adaptable. And if its understanding keeps evolving like that, well, that leads us right into context, doesn't it? Because context is almost never fixed. We rely on it constantly, like, say, when applying a law in a specific situation. How does an AI get a real handle on something so fluid?
Yeah, you've really hit on a major challenge for most AI systems. In STCNN, this context dependence is deeply tied to that intentionality we just discussed and what the sources call the directional focus of information. That focus is basically what lets the AI figure out if a piece of data is relevant or not. Without it, data is just, noise.
Right.
But here's the really interesting part. Context isn't fixed. Can't be. As new data comes in, the STCNN can actually retroactively embed it into past states.
Retroactively.
Yes. So the context itself is constantly shifting, adjusting to fit the new information better. It's a bit like rereading a book and suddenly understanding an early chapter differently because of something you just learned near the end.
That's a great analogy.
Memory and context are deliberately linked, so new stuff always relates dynamically to what's already there.
That really does make me think about how we process things. Our past experiences, they're always coloring our present judgments. Those moments when something just clicks, connecting old knowledge to new insights. There's a really strong human parallel there, isn't there?
Absolutely. I mean, think about how we perceive events. It's not just a string of isolated snapshots. Our sources talk about temporally smeared moments or mental acts. Basically, our past and present experiences kind of blend together and continuously inform each other. That's how we build meaning over time, by retroactively linking new info to past events, but still keeping a clear context for whatever's happening now. It lets us make sense of a continuous flow.
And this STCNN architecture, it's built specifically for that kind of temporally smeared operation.
Precisely. It integrates new events with older ones using those recursive processes we talked about. This makes sure memory is always being updated, context gets clearer, and because time keeps moving, the STCNN uses these temporal cycles to update its intentional focus too, reacting to new conditions as they happen.
So it keeps its mind, so to speak, aligned with the task at hand, viewing time as this dynamic, influencing factor.
Exactly. Not just a sequence.
Okay, so if an AI can handle intentionality and context dynamically, like this, it opens up something even deeper. Ethical reasoning. How can an AI really reflect on what it's doing and make ethical choices? And, I mean, how do we ensure those relevant ethical criteria are genuinely impartial? Couldn't bias creep in?
That's a critical question. This is where STCNN aims for what's called reflection of sense and meaning. It requires self-inspection, critical evaluation, all happening inside those recursive loops. The AI literally compares its own output against its purpose, the context, and crucially, the relevant ethical guidelines for that interpretation. And that's key to the bias question. The system is designed to rigorously check its interpretations against preset, impartial ethical rules. It doesn't invent the ethics, but it applies and verifies against them.
So it's a check and balance system built in.
Exactly. It gives it this meta-reasoning capacity.
Yeah.
It can ask itself questions, much like we might pause and reflect.
Yeah.
Okay, does this meaning I've assigned actually fit the goals here? If not, why? Or did my interpretation really meet the needs? If not, what went wrong? Is any of this information really ambiguous? Should I ask for clarification? And the big one, do the goals and results line up with the ethical criteria? If not, why not? And how should I adjust? This whole self-inspection loop is designed to ensure transparency, testability, and repeatability in its ethical processing.
That does sound like a major step up from just pattern matching. So how does STCNN build this deeper construction of contextual meaning? How does it avoid just spotting surface patterns that could lead it down the wrong path?
Well, unlike a lot of traditional AI using what you might call single-dimensional semantics like a flat vector representation, STCNN uses multi-dimensional semantic representations. Think, maybe, of the difference between a flat photo and a detailed 3D model you can turn around. It embeds features like time, context, reference, building these rich, overlapping, context-dependent pictures of meaning. These multidimensional representations let it handle really complex contextual dependencies, which leads to, well, much higher accuracy in representation and interpretation.
Okay, so it's a richer picture.
Much richer. And importantly, it dynamically adjusts the weighting it gives to different kinds of information. Old info like existing knowledge or experience versus new incoming data versus even anticipated data like goals or hypotheses it's testing. This ability to shift its focus based on the situation makes it a really comprehensive and adaptable semantic engine. It's built to maximize contextual meaning and reasoning robustness and actively avoid just over-relying on past patterns.
That makes a lot of sense. It actually reminds me of another tough human thing, dealing with ambiguity, different perspectives. Can AI really manage that kind of nuance where there isn't just one single right answer?
It's designed to try, yes. The STCNN incorporates an evaluation of ambiguity and perspectivism. How? By assigning qualitative weights to contradictory interpretations. Using probability baked into its core, it can actually recognize, understand, and qualitatively value ambiguity. It can handle multiple plausible meanings at once.
So it's like it can pause and think, are we talking about a software bug or an insect bug? And weigh which makes more sense right now.
Exactly that kind of thing. It's that sort of human-like navigation of nuance. And it implements perspectivism right inside its inner loop, letting it adapt to multiple viewpoints. It dynamically, qualitatively evaluates these differing interpretations based on context. And crucially, this lets the AI decide which perspectives might have more or less ethical weight.
So it can prioritize based on ethics.
Yes, we can look at a situation from divergent angles and qualitatively decide on the appropriateness, the implications of potential responses, making sure ethical concerns get meaningful priority.
Okay, so we've covered a lot. Intentionality, dynamic context, the human cognitive links, ethical reflection, multi-dimensional meaning, handling ambiguity. What does this all add up to? How do these pieces fit together to enable a truly, maybe forward-thinking AI?
Well, all these capabilities, the recursive nature, the temporal reasoning, the constant updates, the ethical check, they don't work in isolation. They combine to enable what the sources call hypothetical proactive reasoning. It's sort of inspired by how our own consciousness seems to constantly blend past, present, and what we anticipate for the future. So the AI can actually evaluate the potential implications of different actions while it's processing new information and updating its reasoning.
Thinking ahead while acting.
Precisely. This integration gives it a much better viewpoint on what its response should be in any given moment. It understands that events are connected through time. And this temporal awareness inherently implies an intentional focus, because an event isn't just static, it's an activity pointing towards past causes and future effects. It's about anticipating, not just reacting.
And you mentioned earlier that all these aspects of STCNN's reasoning align with something called Sophimatics. What is that, and why is that alignment significant?
Ah, yes, Sophimatics. It's basically a philosophical framework looking at how meaning, understanding, and reason emerge in complex, dynamic systems going beyond just pure logic or mechanics. The alignment means STCNN's approach to reasonability is boosted significantly by incorporating intentionality, handling ambiguity, dynamically shifting perspectives, all leading to genuine context-dependent, context-appropriate reasoning. It's a more holistic view of intelligence.
What's a more well-rounded intelligence?
Exactly. And the core benefit we're aiming for here is a path towards truly ethical, adaptable, and importantly, explainable AI. That's achieved through this dynamic updating, the built-in evaluation, the ability to project forward and think proactively about consequences. Combine that with the intentionality of information, its directional focus in these dynamic contexts, and you can start to really establish reasonability in an AI system.
So quite a journey we've taken. From AI just processing data to a model that seems capable of genuinely grasping meaning, dynamic context, ethical reflection, even handling ambiguity. This STCNN Level 3 really does sound like a potential leap towards a more, dare I say, human-like understanding in AI.
I think that's fair to say. When we look at AI's future, it really shouldn't just be about what tasks it can do, but fundamentally how it understands and reasons. This deep dive into STCNA, I think, it suggests a path forward towards AI that doesn't just follow instructions, but genuinely seems to comprehend the world in a way that's dynamic, adaptable, and ethically aware.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? If AI could truly operate with this level of sophisticated, context-aware ethical reasoning, what kinds of massive challenges could it help us tackle? And, maybe more profoundly, what kind of world would that actually create for all of us? Something to think about.